Hello. Today we're going to set up a 3D touch and rotation with a FaniCobot. I'm going to start by recording my home point in space. Now I'm going to give the robot an instruction. I'm going to tell it to get ready to start searching for my part. I'm going to press my F1 instruction key. I'm going to go to an option called Touch Sensor. F1 instruction, Touch Sensor. Press Enter on Search Start. It's asking for a value here. This first number after search start is going to be the touch schedule that you have set up. The second value here is going to be a position register. I'm going to use position register 18 for this example. What I'm going to do now is bring my robot into position for my search. So I'm going to jog the robot into position for my first set of searches. I'm going to record a point in space. I'm going to make this a J motion with a fine termination. What I'm going to do now is record another point in space at the exact same location. However, this will be a linear point with a fine termination. I'm going to change the position ID numbers to match. The way touch sensing works is you need to have 2 points at the exact same location in order for the touch to work properly. You need a point for the robot to get to that location, and you need a second point telling the robot to perform a search from that location. To tell the robot to search from that location, you're going to cursor to the end of the line, 1 point past fine, you're going to press F4 choice and select search. In this example here, I'm going to have the robot search towards me, which is the Y plus direction. Now I'm going to jog the robot into the second Y direction search. I'm going to record 2 points at this location. They're both going to be a linear motion with a fine termination. I'm changing the position ID numbers to match. I'm going to cursor to the end of the line, 1 point past fine, press F4 choice, and select search. This is my second Y search, so I need to have it search in the Y direction. Now I'm going to get the robot into position for my X searches. I'm going to move the robot up away from the part and record this point. This is just a safe location to maneuver the robot in space around the object so I don't crash. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the robot into position for my 2X searches. I'm going to record a point here. I'm going to make it a J motion with a fine termination. I'm going to record a second point at the exact same location, and this will be a linear motion with a fine termination. I'm changing the position ID numbers to match. F4 choice and select search. Going X minus. That's my first X direction search. Now I'm going to teach the robot in the second X direction search. I'm going to record 2 points at this location. I'm going to change the position ID numbers to match. I'm going to cursor to the end of the line, 1 point past fine, F4 choice, and I'm going to tell the robot to search in the X minus direction again. In order for a 3D and rotate to work properly, it's going to require a total of 7 touches. 2 in the X, 2 in the Y, and 3 in the Z. Now it's time to start teaching the Z direction searches. I'm going to pull the robot up into position, away from the part, so I can do all my air moves and not crash into the part. I'm going to bring my robot into position now for my search for my Z direction. I'm going to record my first point, the robot getting there, and this is going to be a J motion with a fine termination. I'm going to record another point in the exact same location. This will be a linear motion with a fine termination. Again, I'm changing the position ID numbers to match. Go to the end of the line. I'm going to tell it to search in minus Z. That's going to be my first Z. My second Z direction point, I'm going to get the robot into position for my search. I'm going to record 2 points at this location. Change my position ID numbers to match. Go to the end of the line, F4 choice, and select search. Again, I'm going to do a minus Z. Now my third and final Z direction point, I'm going to bring into position. I'm going to record 2 points at this location. Change my position ID numbers to match. At the end of the line, I'm going to press F4 choice and select search. Search and minus Z. Now, the 3D and rotate requires 7 touches. I did 2 in the Y, 2 in the X, and 3 in the Z. I need to tell the robot to stop searching. F1 instruction, go to touch sensor, and select search end. What I'm going to do now is get my robot into position for welding. I move my robot to a safe location. I'm going to record that point. Now every point after this, all of my motion points, I'll have an approach, a weld start, a weld end, and the escape point. I want those points to move with my part. I have to give the robot an instruction to do that. F1 instruction, go to touch sensor, select touch offset. I'm going to use the PR that I used in my program earlier. In this example, it was PR 18. So now I'm going to teach my program like normal. I'm going to come in to my weld start location. I'm going to teach my weld end position. I'm going to teach my escape position. And I'm going to tell the robot to go back home. However, I do not want to shift my home position. So at this point, I'm going to give the robot an instruction to stop offsetting. Press your F1 instruction key, go to an option called touch sensor, and select touch offset end. I'm going to record my final point, change the position ID number to 1 to send the robot back home. Before I run my program, I'm going to verify my touch schedule is set up properly. My master flag on line 2 is turned on. My pattern type is set for a 3D and rotate. And now I'm going to run my program. First time I recommend running your program with the master flag on so the robot learns the location of the part. Then we're going to run the program again with the master flag turned off. You'll see that here in a second. We just did our Y direction searches, and now we're going to do our X direction searches. After our 2X and 2Y, we're going to go ahead and do our 3 Z searches now. Here's our first Z search, second, and third. Now the robot's going to run its taught path that we just created. This is all with the flag on, so the robot's learning the master position of the part. I'm going to go in my touch schedule now and turn the flag to the off position. Data, master flag off, and now I'm going to run my program again. It's always good practice to execute your program with the master flag turned off. This is where your errors would appear. If there's a fault, it's better to correct it before moving the part. That's why we always test it with the master flag turned off to verify the robot accepted the touch. We did our 2 X's, our 2 Y's, and now we're doing our 3 Z's. Everything went through with the touch routine. Now the robot's going to run the program. When the program's complete, we're going to move the part. All right, everything looked good, so now we're going to go and shift the part. Because this is a 3D and rotate, I'm going to put these spacers underneath the part to change the elevation, change the height, and I'm going to rotate the part slightly. Now try not to over-rotate the part. You've got to keep in mind your program points for your touch. We did our 2 Y's. Now we're going to go ahead and do our 2 X's. And now we're going to go ahead and do our 3 Z's. 1, 2, and third and final Z. Now the robot's going to run down the path applying the offset from the 3D and rotate touch. This is how you set up and execute a 3D and rotation with a FANUC cobot.